Ready?
Yep.
Ready? Good morning. The time is 10:31. My name is Richard Williams. I'm the Chair of the Kane County Development Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Arroyo. Garcia.
See I here.
Linder.
Linder here.
Tepe. Leonard. Iqbal.
Iqbal present.
Williams.
It's here.
Roth.
We
You have
do,
quorum?
we do not have any remote attendance requests, right?
We do not.
We have no remote attendance requests, so I would ask someone for unanimous consent for the January 20th, 2026 minutes.
Linder so moves.
Are you asking for unanimous consent?
Yes.
Is there any objection?
No.
No objection, seeing the minutes will be approved. Public comment. I know several of you are here on the USS solar petition. Your comment will be permitted during that part of the meeting. So with that, I would call Mr. Steve Leffler to the podium, please. Mr. Leffler, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great day. I'm here on 2 items this morning. First, regarding 26-244, Exhibit A points out that, or this is a new fee schedule you guys want to implement that is going to hit residential folks who want to put up a couple of solar panels, the $250 to $300, in some cases $500 or $600 fee. I guess it's for inspection, but a lot of the stuff is going to be at the point where it's plug and play to install solar panels. It would be, there should be some minimum. If I want to put up a couple of solar panels on my condo where, like they do in Germany, where they hang them off the balcony and they plug them into the system, they're doing this all over the world. We should have the opportunity to do that without having to go to the nanny state, pay a little fee to make sure that it's inspected and okay. Second item. I'm sorry, give me a moment here. Well, your goals, as it says at the top of the agenda for 2026, relate to environment and water resources and community reinvestment. First couple of words in community investment: provide critical federal funding for various projects. Well, the project 519 to remove the dams up and down the river, the federal administration in office right now has cut funding and told them, don't do anything else right now. Don't answer an email. Don't take a phone call on this. There's no more funding and you guys aren't allowed to do work on this. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of samples that have been taken out of the river at the various impoundments up and down the river, and they are awaiting funding to do to test the samples and see if there's any problems with them, what sort of contamination is in there. It'd be great if you guys could provide that funding so that those samples can get done and the project can move forward a few more steps. So if you guys can find some funds, that'd be great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the committee other than the solar petition? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to monthly financials. They are in your report. If there's any questions, let me know. Seeing none, we'll move on to building and zoning. Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Good morning, Mark Van Kerkhoff, Director of Development and Community Services, and I want to welcome our 2 new board members. One of them's in the room here. One of them I just met walking out the door. So I'll be sending out a email introducing our department and our team for any questions you have, particularly with property code enforcement or zoning petitions in your district. So welcome. So with that, just verbally on our building and zoning report, we're still fairly busy, especially with this early spring. I'm sure that'll get everybody out and excited about projects and submittals. We are fully staffed with our building and zoning division team, and I'm grateful for that. Later on in the agenda, you have a resolution for amending our building permit fees in regard to community solar projects. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Seeing none, we will move on to our zoning petitions. Ms. Zine.
Good morning, thank you. I'll just give Blair a second to switch to the presentation. There we go. So today we are looking at zoning petition number 4677, USS Rhea Solar. The applicant is USS Rhea Solar LLC, developer is US Solar. The requested zoning action is for a special use permit in the F Farming zoning district to allow for the development of a commercial solar energy facility. And this is on approximately 53 acres of property located about a half-mile west of Francis Road, half-mile south of Beath Road in Virgil Township, unincorporated Kane. Here you can see our location map showing Virgil Township. That blue rectangle or polygon there is the subject property. This is Francis Road right here. The access, you'll see in the site plan, but the access to the solar project is going to come off of Francis Road, but the actual solar facility will be contained within this parcel here. To the north, you can see the villages of Virgil and Lily Lake. Here's an aerial view of the property. Again, that white rectangle is approximately where the solar panels will be located. And then again, this is the approximate location for the access road. You can see we have a farmette here and here, mostly agricultural farmland surrounding the property. This is our zoning map showing all of the white area is considered F district farming. And then the F1 is our rural residential district. So again, primarily agricultural in this area. This is in our agriculture, food farm, and small town area of the 2040 land use strategy plan. And is in our agricultural land use designation. You can see all of this light green area. That's all the agriculture future land use. Here we can see the site plan. The site plan is in two parts, so there are two different slides I'll show you, but this slide shows, it's a little hard to see on the screen, but this is the approximate location for the solar panels. There's an access drive here, comes along the property, and then goes to the east. Here's where that continues, so it goes down to the east and then meets up to Francis Road. This is a project that does have, in addition to the normal equipment pads, it is also proposing a battery energy storage system. Those will be located in the center of the project here. Otherwise, the project meets all of our required setbacks. For landscaping, the applicant is proposing the typical native pollinator seed mix for the interior of the project. At time of submittal, the applicant was not proposing any screening trees for the property. Their take was that the property is far enough away that screening would not be necessary. The ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, did add a stipulation that the petitioner include minimally some landscape screening along the southwest border of the facility. So I've added that in our list. No comments from the Village of Lily Lake or Virgil, nothing from the Forest Preserve. We did get back some questions from the school district, but I believe those were all resolved between them and the petitioner, and they can provide more color on that later on if you'd like. KDOT reviewed the petition and provided that the access permits will come from Virgil Township. Nothing from the health department, and I did not hear back from Maple Park and Countryside Fire District at all. I reached out to them a handful of times, a few different contacts there, and didn't hear back. I do believe that the petitioner has since made contact with them and they can provide some updated information about their initial feedback. But just as a note, the fire district will be notified again when this project gets to the permitting stage, and we do require a letter of approval from the applicable fire district at time of building permits. And the only case in which a project would need to come back for some sort of variance to the special use would be if the panels were relocated in such a way that it reduced the provided setbacks. So if they're able to meet all of the fire district's needs without reducing any of the setbacks that are indicated in the approved site plan that gets approved by the county board, then there will be no additional zoning process. It'll just be resolved through the permitting. Water Resources reviewed the project. They did have some comments and provided a list of their standard stipulations. We received the EcoCat report back and the NRI report. The Lisa value for the project was 79, putting this in a moderate protection effort area. And then we received the additional reviews and analyses from the other outside agencies. Nothing out of the ordinary here. If you have any questions, you can let me know. No received written public comment. We did have at least one member of the public attend the zoning board, and they were the ones that brought up the request for the landscape screening. It was an area landowner. So this is our complete list of stipulations. We have the 11 from water, or 12 from Water Resources, the transportation one, and then the vegetative screening one that indicates that the applicant shall be responsible for installing vegetative screening on the southwest side of the facility in accordance to our standard requirements of a 5-foot planting height and separation of 15 foot on center. So the ZBA adopted their findings of fact and voted to approve the petition 7-0. And that completes my report. The petitioners are here. If you'd like to ask them any follow-up questions, I'm sure they can provide additional information. And I'm also, as always, available for questions.
Thank you, Natalie. Would a representative of the petitioner like to make a presentation? It might be off.
The green light is on. Oh, there we go.
Working now. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. My name is Elijah Mitchell with US Solar, representing USS Reyes Solar this morning. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Natalie, for the presentation. I wanted to speak on a couple of things. One being that, as Natalie mentioned, we did get in contact with the Maple Park Fire Department, presenting the site plan of the project and mentioning to them the general scope of the project, including both solar and the battery energy storage. They had no comments or concerns at that time speaking with them. In addition to that, we wanted to follow up on the screening request from the landowner that had been at the zoning hearing 2 weeks ago. They had requested screening because they were on the eastern side of the project, the southeastern side. But knowing that the project was not on a parcel directly adjacent to their parcel, they no longer requested screening along that side. In addition to that, she had also requested screening on the western side of the project, right there indicated, of which we have not received any feedback or comment from that landowner. And I have exhibits here for you all to see, to submit for the record, to show further why we recommend that we do not include screening here. Who do I pass this to, by the way? Thank you. As you all can see from the exhibits that have been shared, the parcel directly to the west already has mature trees existing in the direct line of sight of which they would be able to see the project from their house. In addition to that, indicated by the triangle, there exists a new building that further screens view of the project that we believe is more than enough screening from that neighbor who has not given any comment. In addition to that, the other neighbor to the southwest is, I believe it was over nearly 4,000 feet away, much farther than they can realistically make out anything on the project. In addition to that, within the parcel itself, the project is set back from the western boundary by several hundred feet due to the pipeline easements there. And then screening to the eastern side, as I said, the neighbor no longer requested any screening given that the project was not on the parcel, the panels were not on the parcel directly adjacent to her property. That is all that I have to speak to. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Can we hold off on questions until we
Sure.
get through public comment, and then I'll open it up for discussion?
Okay.
So we're going to give the public an opportunity to address that. We may
Sure.
have you come up to address anything brought up by the public. Do you want to say something before we turn it over, sir, to the?
Yeah, I put both of our names down.
Okay,
For the same line item.
so are you Ryan?
I am Ryan Mignoni, yes.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted to reiterate what Elijah was saying and to kind of just clarify one piece. So the white building directly to the west of the property, it's the one that kind of, stands out the most exactly. The residential home is to the west of that, the only residential home within approximately 1,000 feet of the project is just west of that. That building was just put up in the last year. So on some maps, it's actually does not show up on some aerials. The request from the previous board was to put screening in the southwest corner. Because of that building and the triangle that we put on those exhibits, it actually makes no sense for that request because that building already screens the view from that residential structure. And thus there's no reason to add screening in our opinion, especially knowing that we're 1,000 feet away at that time. So we are asking from this board to reconsider this request to add screening because one thing we don't feel there's a reason for it. and plus the residential landowner to the west of us. We have reached out to them multiple times. Their neighbor to the east had shown up and said that they were going to get in contact with us, that they were going to help their neighbor get in contact with us, and that still has not happened. So we don't want to propose something that maybe that landowner does not want screening at all. Maybe they do, but we've given them the opportunity to speak out about this. They've been notified of these public hearings. So we don't feel that there is any reason to add screening there. So we're asking this board to reconsider that condition.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this point, I would invite Hunter Vayart. I'm sorry, I can't read your last name, sir. If you could please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Good morning. My name's Hunter. I am the landowner directly to the northeast. Yes, most of my questions have been answered with the vegetation and the road. The one main point that I had was, I'm not here to oppose it at all. You know, I think it's great. It can do great things, but the project, I believe now has a 20-year lease agreement with an option to extend it. And 20 years, 30 years, 40 years is a very long time. And I was just looking to see if there was any sort of bond taking place for security to decommission the panels. 20, 30 years is a long time.
So
didn't-
normally, sir, during public comment, you tell us your thoughts and your concerns, and we don't typically engage with the members of the public, but as part of the process, there is a decommissioning bond
Okay,
that is posted. So when the facility terminates, there's revenue to make sure that the improvements are removed.
okay. Well, that's all. Everything's been answered then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Erica Ruck. Good morning, Ms. Ruck. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My main concern was that we were not notified. I live on Francis Road and no one along this road knew about this. Except for when I happened to drive north of my home and saw the sign. Otherwise, I always drive south to 38 and was not aware of this. The neighbor across the street was not aware of this, so we had no opportunity to come and speak with our concerns. And that is I'm pretty upset about that. You know, my main concern absolutely what is about, but you just answered that, about the 20-year lease agreement. And I'm concerned about the decommissioning of this, just like the windmills that we're having all these issues with. I am also concerned with your stating that there's going to be like prairie grass or native plants. I have done that on my property and you have to maintain that. You could plant them all you want, but you have to maintain it. Otherwise, these noxious weeds are going to spread all over the farmland. And I have been battling this for 20 plus years. So how is that going to be maintained? Also, I think there should be screening because it's going to decrease the property value of our land if we ever want to sell to a neighborhoods or anywhere where there's going to be homes. And it is an eyesore. Absolutely. So those are my comments. And I am definitely concerned about the wildlife and the pollution from these. So thank you.
Would the petitioner like to address any of those comments before we open it up for discussion?
Thank you for your concern, and thank you for stating your comments. As we have said, or as I've said, there is a decommissioning bond. That is a standard practice in Illinois, part of the agricultural, part of the AMA, which mandates that all solar projects place decommissioning bonds with the respective counties to decommission the project at the end of its life. And we pay for that decommissioning bond that we put with the county. So we pay for the cost to eventually remove the project.
Okay, before I open it up to the committee for discussion, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Iqbal, seconded by
Royal.
Royal. Okay, discussion, Mr. Lindner, you had a question?
Yeah, we typically have not had projects that include storage batteries. And I'd like just a 2-minute sketch of how that works and why that's beneficial to you or to us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, as we all know, the sun isn't always shining, right? This obviously goes down in the evening, and that's actually when you and I mostly use the most of our energy, when we're at home in the evening or when we're getting up, getting ready for work in the morning. What the storage allows solar to do is pretty much run as a 24-hour system. So we overbuild the direct current or the DC side of the project to allow for that excess energy during the day to be stored in batteries to then be utilized on the grid at night. So we may not be dispatching to the grid every evening, but if it's incredibly cold like it was in January, or if there's heat waves in the summer, or just random areas of high electrical usage, the utility can draw on that battery if they would like to. So it is truly, Natalie, I don't know if you can go back to the site plan real quick, but because this will help understand. So those gray boxes in the center, there are 4 of them that will hold the battery storage. It pretty much is a small shipping container. And those batteries are not necessarily like your cell phone. They are much more high performing, much more stable. And they are in a 100% temperature controlled room so that they then have the best life for the longest period of time. Just those 4 boxes right there allow us for anywhere between 400 and 500 additional homes worth of power, worth of energy for approximately 4 to 5 hours in duration. So we can dispatch during that period of high usage, and then it can be the next day, those can then be recharged during the day. So I'm happy to answer more questions, but hopefully that helps understand the use case of them.
Mr. Tepe?
How many kilowatt hours
How many kilowatt hours of the
of storage?
of storage? So I believe this particular project, let me do the math real quick, sorry. Approximately 22.5 megawatt hours. So 22,500 kilowatt hours.
That's some big batteries.
Understood, yes.
Okay. And what's the situation? What kind of batteries are these?
So they are LFP, or lithium iron phosphate battery. Right now, they are the most mainstream but safest on the market right now. Much more safe than the cell phone battery that we keep in our pocket every single day. And what is something that I like to stand by too is it's not just a company that's going to then random company that's just going to go put these in. Within our umbrella or our sister company is a battery storage integrator called Enion. They will be they take all the components of the system and help them work harmoniously together. And then they will be the long-term O&M contractor that is out on the field. So if you need to talk to someone about the battery company specifically, all you would need to do is contact us and we can get them directly. It's not going to be a outside party, which I would say in 95 cases or more, it's a company that you hire out of a different country or out of somewhere in the United States. and you're working through, trying to work through their customer service system. So
Yeah, but you're the one asking for the approval. Calling them or talking to them isn't going to do us any good.
no, understood, but during the operation period.
You say are these obviously cooled and heated when necessary?
They do,
Environmentally
they do
controlled?
have an individual HVAC unit per actual container, yes.
And I'm assuming that by putting in equipment like this, your organization ends up getting paid more for the power that is pulled from the batteries? I don't understand why you're not feeding it to the grid as compared to, storing it and allowing the grid to take it when they need it.
I feel like you just answered your question. The grid is utilizing it just only when it is needed.
At a higher price? Is there some kind of price differential for?
It is a much lower price than if a utility is needing to transmit power in. As you see on your utility bills, there's a transmission fee. When use goes up in times of bad weather or high usage, your transmission cost will also go up. If you are transmitting less power from 200-300 miles away, or having to turn on a peaker plant that's used only for 2% of the year, the utility will charge a very steep number for that short period of time. If they're able to pull from a local battery system, that price is much lower. Now it's higher than if it's just at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a 70-degree day, but that usage much lower than if you're turning on like a peaker plant or transmitting from hundreds of miles away.
Let me be more specific. When the utility company is drawing power from the batteries, okay, you are paid a higher price than when it is getting it from solar directly?
As of right now, the legislation hasn't been fully determined. They're working on it right now under the Surge law, I believe that most of you may be familiar with, that Pritzker signed last month.
We're not
for-
familiar with it. We've been briefed on it, but we're not familiar with it.
Okay. Under that law, it will allow for discharge windows that we would have to commit to. Now, even without that law, we can still sell energy to the grid when it's needed. It is likely that the utility is just paying us more for it because they need it. Ultimately, it's up to the utility on what they want us to pay for until that legislation's finalized.
I understand, but it's a substantial investment to put in the batteries, and you wouldn't put in the batteries if you weren't getting some additional return on it. So that's
Understood. And we have actually just commissioned the first ComEd project that has batteries on it and the first Ameren project that has batteries on it. We did that in Q4 of last year, and those projects are operational. Those are the first two in the state, actually. So we are very familiar with it. This is something that we are definitely leading the industry with. So I truly appreciate your questions because I do understand how new the technology is.
And then with our staff, again, my comments are, these are some pretty big batteries. Have you looked into this associated with any safety issues?
So yes, we are also learning along the way. We've seen this coming in terms of what other communities have been experiencing with battery storages, either as part of a solar project like this one or as standalone installations. So we are also learning and involving our fire districts with that learning as well. So in process. It's also part of the new legislation that takes effect June 1st, addresses energy storage facilities specifically with some of the same restrictions on what counties can and can't do in terms of regulations.
And again, are the fire department districts aware of these installations?
So we have been in touch with the fire district. The fire chief is fully aware of our project and what we're proposing. At this time, they've seen no concern. But what I would always recommend to every district is that everything is shared with the fire department, even if it's not part of your normal process during the building permit, to allow for them to fully review, to make sure that the access road is wide enough for their needs. If there is a fire department connection that they would recommend a certain distance for, we have like a standardized distance that we keep that because we don't want fire departments to just go in there and start opening up cabinets. If there ever is an event, that they are doing it safely away from the facility. We offer also training services as well with our company. So safety is our number one priority. It truly is. And we understand that, and we understand that this is new. So we want to be able to kind of open that up to this board and to the community as well, as that this is something we take seriously.
But yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't want to belabor this too much, but electric vehicles have special procedures, particularly for fire departments, to be able to disconnect the batteries so that, they're not going to cause any harm should some, tremendous thing happen. And, we're talking about a hell of a lot of electricity being stored in these batteries. So I just would like to hear a bit more that the local fire department is properly trained and understands this equipment.
Dr. Rick Paul, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Could we go back to page 59? '59. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, could you, you are so close to ComEd. So following up on the question on the batteries, isn't ComEd always accepting whatever you generate? It's only the price, it's a matter of the pricing that you are storing this electricity.
Yes. They will accept it. There's always just a price tag associated with it.
Okay.
What I would say is that, so this is our kind of single line diagram that clearly states that ComEd would be their design for us to be able to safely interconnect this project. We have already signed that agreement with ComEd and we have actually funded it. They are currently in the process of finalizing their design. But yes, in long-term short, it could be $100 million, and that is likely that's something we would never fund. But this one is in kind of, for the size of this project, it is within kind of the financial area that we can move forward with on this project.
I see, okay. So the total capacity is 4.4 megawatt, and out of that, 50% would be stored. You say 4.4 megawatt.
Correct. Yeah. The DC size is overbuilt by double. So it's a 4.5 or 4.49, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that's the AC size. So that's actually what the grid is accepting at all times. As we know, the sun isn't shining all the time like it is today. So in a typical system, even without batteries, we would over design by about 1.4, because it still allows for, even on partially cloudy days, for us to still put out 4.5 megawatts onto the grid at all times, at least while it's during the day. The going from 1.4 to 2.0, or to get that 9 megawatts DC, allows for the batteries to then be charged during that period, so then they can be dispatched at night.
Okay. My second question goes to this page. You're listed two neighbors. One is the pink line, And that is 3/4 of a mile away.
Yeah.
And the other one is 1,000 feet away.
Correct.
And the north side, the gentleman is here and he doesn't object. And did you hear anything from the other ones?
We have only heard from the neighbors to the east of the property. Yeah.
East, okay.
So that was kind of our question to this board too, is we've given them the opportunity to speak, and I truly understand and hear you out on why you did not get notified. Unfortunately, it's just part of the Illinois law on how far that notification runs. I believe it's 250 feet, and in rural communities, 250 feet is nothing. And I wish I can control that. I can't. So that is a state thing. But if you have any questions, please stay after and we'll be glad to help you answer them. But anything on the west side, we have not heard from them at all.
Oh, okay.
And thus, we don't feel it's necessary, knowing the distance, knowing that there's pipelines along that west side, and knowing that there's already additional screening from the trees and from this new building that was built, that we are asking the board to reconsider that condition.
Yeah, my third question is, you raised the question that there are already existing trees and that you are not getting the credit for those trees. Is this how is this what you're saying?
Necessarily asking for a credit there. In the condition itself, it speaks to trees only needing to be in that southwest corner because those trees are already there. That's what was discussed during the ZBA meeting. And we're saying that southwest corner of the project site is actually already screened due to a new building that was built in the last 12 months.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you had a question?
Yes, I have two. Thank you. The first, actually, three. Where is your company from? Is it Illinois based or out of state?
It is Minneapolis, but our second biggest office is out of Illinois.
Okay, so then leading on, the reason I'm asking that is you are very familiar with the new legislation that requires, since this solar field with your AC and DC components is about 6 megabytes, give or take, that you're going to have to use, I believe, union labor. You are aware of that, or labor that is paying full prevailing wage?
Yeah, the project labor agreement.
Correct.
Yes, totally on track there.
Okay,
Yes.
I was just double checking on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that's anything over 3, just for the
3
room
megabytes.
here, anything over 3 megawatts AC requires as long as your project receives a rec contract after June 1st of 2026, it would be required to fall under this new project labor agreement that you would have to use unionized labor to perform the work for projects of that size or larger.
Okay, very good. Yes, I'm happy that you're aware of that. The second is about the building for the battery storage. You mentioned a building. Are you building a building to store the batteries, or are the batteries in shipping containers or something similar? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
imagine what they look like. And then you
Oh.
mentioned I assume that if it's very cold outside, you mentioned that there's going to be a heat source for them. You also mentioned if it gets too hot, there also is air conditioning. Yeah.
yeah. So I
I'm
could,
assuming there's going to be a building.
I can, so actually there's not a building. I was trying to describe it as it looks like a small shipping container is what I was trying to describe it as. But realistically, they are in kind of individual units. Each of those units have racks in them, and those racks store the batteries. On the exterior of it is an HVAC unit. And as you and I all know, as our phone gets hot, if it sits in the sun too long, it shuts off so the battery doesn't overheat. So kind of that unit does the same thing. And really, actually, batteries work better when it is colder outside. Now, maybe not what it was a month ago, but they definitely work better when it's colder outside. So really, this unit kind of looks like a large refrigerator. And I apologize that I don't have a photo up at this moment, but they're individually separated so that if there is an event that were to happen, it is contained to that individual unit, and that individual unit can be kind of from the fire department, they can detach which or spray only individual units so that it's not kind of contaminating the entire system at that point.
Is it one battery per unit or is it you mentioned racks, so I would assume there'd be multiple batteries per storage facility.
Yeah, so imagine kind of like your cell phone,
Yes.
and your cell phone is tied together with a bunch of different batteries in a rack. Those racks are then all tied together into a cabinet, and then all of the cabinets are then strung together into a system. So there's thousands of these small batteries the size of your hand or smaller, all tied in series to be able to work together.
Could you please send us a photo of what these look like? I'm curious to see so I can get some understanding of it. If you can, so everybody can see. Why don't you? So we can see.
I don't need to see it. You know what? We can't put it on the
Oh,
screen.
sure.
Okay.
Okay.
This is what I
Just one.
wanted to show.
Thank you.
But if you can just send it to.
Then the actual panel height.
You know,
They're
we
about
need to
seven
Wait,
get a
wait.
microphone, sir. As soon as, are you done, Madam Chair?
I am, thank
Okay.
you.
Ms. Walnick, you had some comments. I'd like to
Yes,
hear.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure we had on the record, this site is a little unique from the other solar facilities that we've seen. There is a flood route that goes through the site and there's not been a study on that flood route. We have had other solar facilities that have placed panels in flood routes and floodplains, but those studies had already been completed. And so there was a high water elevation that was determined. In this case, they will need to have an engineer determine the high water level and will need to meet the protection standards for all the equipment. The other item I wanted to note was the access route is very long. And it would trigger detention if they were to put it in either gravel or pavement. So we have had a conversation with them and specified that it needs to be either permeable pavers or clean rock or green pavement to make sure they don't trigger that detention because it's so linear and long and their access wouldn't provide the width that would allow for detention to be built. So I want to make sure that the committee was aware of those two unique engineering items on the site. Thank you.
Okay, let's, last question, Mr. Tepe.
Yes, I promise you. I promise you. With the new law that goes into effect either June or July, it removes almost all of our ability to delay or stop any of these projects. But one of the things that we talked about is handling, vegetation or screening around these projects. Part of what concerns me is that I've seen pictures of projects that were done years ago and the screening around it looks terrible. Okay. In this instance, one of the individuals asking questions talks about, what happens 10 years from now. So 10 years from now, there may be quite a few more homes there. Rather than deter any screening, I'd like to see us come up with a screening, some screening rules that make sense, that enable it to be somewhat indivisible and as acceptable visually as possible. So what's going on in that area?
So I would
done.
make a couple of comments on that. Thank you, Mr. Tepe. First, I'm not in favor of waiving the screening. You actually are getting the benefit of coming in before we institute our more comprehensive screening plan, which is going to be the entirety of the site. So while I hear what you're saying, people following you are going to have far more restrictive screening requirements than you. We are working on that. We've had several meetings with the Forest Preserve. We are working to amend our zoning ordinance, given we'll talk about this later, but in light of the new legislation, screening will be part of that. So that is being addressed. I would also note that this is a special use and the special use will require screening. And if the screening isn't maintained to the standards, that is technically a violation of the special use and would give us enforcement mechanisms. So am I wrong about that, Natalie or Mark? So, Mr. Roth, did you have a question before I?
I do. Some clarification, and Mr. Teppi mentioned part and Jody mentioned part. It's on page 44, it's on schedule. Does environmental approve the water floodplain? Because one of the comments is the applicant intends to avoid placement. And will it really be enforceable that you guys will say, you cannot put it in this area or whatever you need to do?
They're allowed to put it in there. The fact is the high water level hasn't been determined yet. So they might need to move around their panels, but if they did need to have panels in there, they would need to meet the protection standards of
And-
having all
and-
the equipment.
And
up
I
to 2
just
feet
wanted
above.
to make
Correct.
sure of that. And then regarding the screening too, they show a bird's eye view of the screening. They didn't show a picture like looking directly at ground level. And the trees aren't really up close. It also doesn't show the quality of the trees, if it's been there a while, how many are dead, et cetera. I mean, we had one proposal, they're going to put them every 30 feet, and that's why we're working on a tighter rule. So to say, oh, there's screening, we don't need to do anything, I don't know what the quality of that current screening is. And there again, we don't have any rules right now, so that's why it's important. We're moving in that direction. So
Ms. Ruck, how far do you live from this site? You said you did not get notice. Greater than 250 feet, ma'am? Oh. Okay, so farther than 250 feet. Okay. Well, let's ask the petitioner that. What is your maintenance plan for this facility after it's constructed? As far as landscaping, weed control, mowing, et cetera.
Yeah, so this is by no means our first project, so we truly understand like your concern there, because if left alone, it will turn into that. At a minimum, we go out there 4 times a year to maintain everything. There is, as you guys have noted here, it is a special use. If we are not abiding by the special use or not abiding by the building permits, we have then been in kind of default of our permit then, and you guys can hold ourselves accountable. We have never been at that point with the approximate 100 projects around the country that we have operational. But you guys can do that, and we will be the first ones to be out there and making sure that it is. One thing that we always want to maintain is that we are a good neighbor. We are not a developer who will go and sell all of its assets to then a long-term owner operator. We want to be a good neighbor to this community, and that means making sure that the vegetation or anything that is planted, it looks the way that it does on day one or matures the way it needs to for the next 20 plus years.
Thank you. Natalie, did you check the notice requirements were fulfilled by the petitioner? Were there mailings sent out to the neighbors within 250 feet? Was there a sign posted on the property?
Yes, I did it myself.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams, I had 2 quick questions.
Quickly, because I'm
Yeah.
about ready to call the question.
Okay. One, they were talking about the battery to be recharged during the day. And so they're generating 4.49. The battery age is like 6.1. If they're charging during the day, how much does that cut on what can be fed to the grid? Are you using the entire solar panel to recharge? Or will you still be able to provide during the grid during the day?
Correct. So that's why it's overbuilt, is to allow for the project at 4.5 AC to export at 4.5 while the batteries are being charged during the day.
Okay. And then the other, in case of fire, and there again, I'm asking, you don't use water to put out the fire, correct?
No, I mean, it can be, but it's more of a containment measure than an actual putting out the
Okay.
fire.
And so is there special equipment needed or special training by the these small fire associations?
It's more of making sure that we give the fire departments the knowledge. We truly don't want them to be responsible for going in there when they may see this once every 15 years. So the cabinet itself, each individual cabinet, and that's why they're sectioned off, is to allow for each one to be
Or
maintained.
isolation? Okay.
So there is a internal fire suppression system in each individual cabinet.
Okay.
With the ability to then flood each individual cabinet if needed.
So there shouldn't be any additional costs to the fire districts.
There should be none. And if there is any, it's all by us in kind of making sure that the road access is wide enough for their vehicles and everything like that. Yes.
And then the final thing, what's the battery life? How often do you have to replace them?
The battery life on these, the warranties that we get are for 25 to 30 years.
Okay. All right. Thank
Yes.
you. All right. That's all, Mr. Williams.
All right. I think we're ready to call the question.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Garcia. Garcia, yes. Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Tippy, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Next item is property code enforcement. Mr. Mall's not here. Do you have an update, Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
Yes, good morning. Mr. Mall is available to answer any questions you have on the report. That is in your packets. I'll just give a verbal report. Last month, County Board passed the ordinance for short-term rentals. We are working on finalizing the application as well as checking some additional requirements with the state. And also talking to, there's a number of companies out there that provide service for identifying and verifying properties and how they're listed and those types of things. That'll be very helpful in our additional outreach and enforcement. So we are in process of standing the program up.
Thank you. Planning and special projects, Mr. Toth.
Chris Toth speaking. Yep, in page 89 of your packet, you'll find our planning and special projects monthly report. But before I ask for any questions, I'd like to hand over to Mark Van Kerkhoff. He wanted to add something.
Certainly, Mark Van Kerkhoff again. I just wanted to add the last item on the report under community housing development activities. We are just beginning our next annual application cycle for our community development block grants. That's one of those critical federal funding sources that come to our department for addressing community development and housing needs, particularly for people in low and moderate income households and neighborhoods. These applications will be sent out to our municipalities in our community development block grant program area, which is almost everybody except for Elgin and Aurora. They have their own programs, but North Aurora, for instance, is one of those. So that municipalities can apply for these grants for infrastructure and eligible improvements. We also work with a number of subrecipients in delivering housing rehabilitation services to individual income qualified households. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to let myself or Chris Dahl know, but we want to make sure that your constituents and communities are aware that those applications will be coming out. Once those are received by staff, those will be reviewed by our Community Development Commission and then eventually to this committee and the full county board for approval of projects.
Thank you, Mark. Madam Chair.
Just an update. I understand that this grant was fully funded for this fiscal year from the federal government, but it is also my understanding that this may be the last year and that they'll be reducing it next year. Have you heard something similar to that? And I know it's all mercurial.
I hear something similar every week and it seems to change. So it does appear that the lobbying efforts made by the various groups, both for the home program and for CDBG, and continuum of care and homeless services, that those are making a difference. So, but what I heard last week is not necessarily the case this week. So
Look anxiously and I read the paper and listen to the whispers and it changes every day, but thank you.
Mr. Toth, do you have more?
Not unless anyone has any questions on the report.
Okay. The next item is a resolution authorizing acceptance of the DCEO Tourism Marketing Partnership Grant.
Chris Toth speaking again. Yeah, I just come in front of the committee today with some great news. Our team, Julia Tavong and Karen Miller, put together a grant application to DCEO for an additional $100,000 as part of their tourism marketing partnership grant. So we're here today to ask the committee to authorize Madam Chair to sign it and accept that $100,000 grant so that we can expand our marketing activities for the Fabulous Fox National Water Trip.
Arroyo moves the resolution.
Moved by Arroyo, seconded by
Linder.
Lindner.
Chance to promote our bison.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Yes.
Tepe. Oh, sorry. And yes, okay. Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams.
Williams, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is a resolution acknowledging annual review of number of procurement cards issued to development and community service and each of their transaction limits. Moved by Arroyo, seconded by
Yeah.
Garcia. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, call the roll.
Arroyo,
Yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams, yes. Thank you. Next is subdivision report. Ms. Walnick, anything to report?
We don't have anything to report, just the one resolution under water resources for the procurement cards.
And nothing under environmental resources as well?
That's correct.
All right, we'll move on to water resources.
We just have a resolution before you as required for the procurement cards for my department.
Do I have a motion?
Linder.
Moved by Linder, seconded
Arroyo.
by Arroyo, I heard. Any comment or questions? Call the roll.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Garcia,
Garcia, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Williams, yes. Thank you. Moving on to new business. The first matter for consideration is an ordinance amending chapter 6 of the Kane County Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 4 fees. Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Good morning. Now, this is the first step in staff's recommended changes to our ordinances in response to the new state legislation and state statute that takes effect on June 1st. Phase 2 will be the actual changes to the zoning ordinance that are responsive to that state statute. But one of the significant changes in the current statute was a change to really giving a definition to what are reasonable fees, both for the zoning end and for building permits to be issued by counties for community solar projects. So this is something that we recommend that we implement, as quickly as possible. So staff put together a resolution for the change to our building permit fees. And I want to just clarify that this is, at this point, just the change to the building permit fees. Also, the changes in Exhibit A, it's only the bolded words that are new to the ordinance. The other regular font fees in there are already in the building permit fees. So this is a change that would include energy storage systems, but also reflect the state statute reasonable fees for by kilowatt for solar. I am going to note that in order to get this on the agenda for today, that this is staff's first recommendation at this. The state's attorney's office is still reviewing staff's proposal for consistency with the state statute. So it's very possible that you could move this on this morning and there'd be a newer updated Exhibit A by executive committee for the county board's consideration at your meeting. But moving this along would allow us to have these fees effective for community solar projects that are in process and about to be issued. And I will comment that you see the zoning end of it right now in terms of the extensiveness of the review and the work by Natalie and our team and their zoning board of appeals. Once these projects are approved, there's also a considerable amount of work by the rest of our team, including Natalie again and our zoning team, in re-reviewing projects and our plan review and inspection team. So there's a great amount of effort and time spent and actually doing the building permits for these processes, which includes the fire district's involvement before we issue those permits or issue COs. So happy to answer any questions. Vince Coyle is also here from the state's attorney's office if you have any questions on their upcoming review of this as well.
So Mark, a question for you and Natalie is, using our last petition as an example, what would the fees be if that application was proceeding under the fee schedule here? Can you, because we have solar facilities and we have energy storage facilities. So it'd be $50,000 roughly. Is that my reading correctly?
I'm not that quick at math, but yeah, I mean, it'd be substantially more than what our current fees would be.
Probably closer to 35,000.
Sure, okay, so a significant increase.
Oh, no.
I would also note that staff, particularly Natalie, is spending a ton of time on these. So the fee is well justified, although we'll be talking about how we proceed in the future after we get through this. So any questions on the fee schedule here, Madam Chair?
How was that number developed? Was it comparable to other counties?
State statute.
Yeah,
State
it's
statute
provided
dictates it.
directly from the state statute, $5,000 per megawatt.
And how long does that go up? Does it stay stationary? Do
It
they
would-
have any
it-
language?
It would stay stationary as long as that's the maximum allowed by the state statute. So in 2023, when the current state statute was passed, it just said reasonable fees, and there was no definition in terms of what reasonable fees were. So that is one improvement in this current version, is that the state did provide guidance on what the maximum reasonable fees would be. So right now we are charging well under those
Yes,
fees. So
absolutely.
this would be a substantial increase while still being within the state statute.
All right.
And so everyone understands when we vote on this, that it's subject to review and modification by the state's attorney's office. Is that clear with everybody? Other questions on this? Mr. Dr.
Yes.
Iqbal?
Has this been moved? Motion been made?
I don't believe so. Are you
No.
making that motion?
Do we have a motion? Well, I have a motion, then I will remand it to then. Does it make sense?
Sure. Why don't you make your motion and we'll
Yeah, I
amend it.
move to
Approve.
approve this resolution.
Do I have a
Aurora seconds Mr. Akbal's motion.
second? What's your, and do you have a motion to
Yeah, I
amend it?
have a couple of, I need clarification. Number one, the first line, 0 to 10 kilowatt, has two numbers. And it's not clear what the second number is. It implies that if you use solar and the storage, then you pay the bigger number, but it's not very clear. The second item is non-residential / non-commercial. What does non-residential and non-commercial really mean?
Sure. So in our ordinance, this is in the context of our overall fee ordinance, which describes fees in terms of being residential or non-residential, which is anything that's not residential. So that'd be your commercial. So we already had a number 1 and 2 fees that were defined for single-family residential applications, rooftop solar panels or ground-mounted solar panels. We've seen both kinds. And then non-residential, those would be commercial for installation on a commercial building or as part of a non-residential property. Fees for those. And then what we're doing with this in order to align with the state statute and better define our fees for community solar and utility grade solar projects. A new section 3, which treats those types of solar projects and energy storage facilities different than for other non-residential permit applications. In other words, a community solar project like the one you reviewed this morning would be under a different fee schedule than if a tool and die company wanted to put solar panels on their roof.
Dr. Iqbal, so what I would suggest is
Yeah.
rather than amending this now, given that the state's attorney's office hasn't blessed it yet, is maybe you could direct your comments to the state's attorney and then by the time, what'll happen is they'll go to executive with changes as recommended by the state's attorney's office and we can address those changes at executive or full county board.
Okay, well, I have another question too, that doesn't belong to state attorney's office, and that's the numbers for $250 for the 0 to 10 kilowatt. I believe this is 10 kilowatt is such a small threshold that is not even enough for a good size uncorporated house. And to ask for $250, I think is too much money. It should be 125. It should be slashed down.
Well, let me ask Mr. Van Kerkhoff or Ms. Walnick, when someone applies for a solar for solar on their home, what's the process? I mean, there's an application. Does the county go out to the house? How many times do we go out to the house? What do we do to earn that fee on a residential application?
Sure, and so, and also I'll just to clarify, my apologies too, one that there's some typos in there, but the regular font, those sections in number 1 and 2, except for the bolded verbiage on number 2, have already been adopted by the county board as the fees that we're assessing for permits now. So somebody comes in for a building permit application for a solar installation on their home or their business. And those fees, as other communities have been doing it, when we looked into when we adapted this fee schedule by the number of the size of the solar installation. But along with their application, we're doing a building plan review of the schematics. On some cases where the batteries storage for these are being located, some are proposing to have them in the house, those types of things. So that we're looking to make sure the structure of the roof is adequate for roof mounted solar. And then we go out and we do at least one inspection for each project.
So our goal as a county is to make sure that if someone is having a company install a solar system, panels, interconnect, batteries, that they're safe and not going to cause a fire or any sort of threat to human injury, is that, or human life, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So, I mean, I don't really see a fee of $250, $300 be unreasonable for that amount of work personally.
I will note when the county board adopted these fees that are in place, that was also in conjunction with working with Jody's team on becoming a Soul Smart certified unit of government. So part of that whole matrix of how we handle residential and commercial solar projects for properties and buildings, primarily in terms of our application and review process, as well as the reasonableness of our fees, was all taken into account and scored us. I think we're still a bronze level unit of government and part of an overall larger, I think still the largest consortium of governments in Northeastern Illinois for being solar friendly. So these are, from that standpoint, solar friendly fees.
Thank you. Mr. Roth, recognize you first.
Part of that is we shouldn't be subsidizing that. This cost is to cover our time, right? In development to do the necessary paperwork and the inspections. We should be subsidizing that.
We should be?
Should not be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it should cover our costs. And it's a reasonable cost, and that's part of state law, right? You can't be unreasonable.
Madam Chair?
I would concur with that. I had the same thought. I appreciate the ability to be forthcoming and say, if you want to put solar, we really appreciate that. We're environmentally sensitive. We want you to use solar. So we reduce the fee. But given our own financial situation, it's very important that we have reasonable fees. So I'm not saying to triple them or quadruple them, but would average out what your costs are to do this. And if we can amend that reasonably, I think that would be an appropriate move forward in the correct direction. Don't devalue our work.
Any other comment? Dr.
Yeah.
Iqbal?
Yeah, I mean, this project, 0 to 10 kilowatt is such a small project. The batteries will only hold for ace in the hole type of a sump pump. It's not gonna, these are not huge batteries. So why are we charging that amount of money? And if we do want to charge that amount of money, we should raise the limit from 10 to 25 kilowatt.
Well, I don't know if the work is any less if it's 10 kilowatt system or a 20 kilowatt system. Is the work any different for us, Mark?
Not really, although I'd have to take a look to see if we've had any projects that were 10 kilowatts or less. I mean, to Mr. Iqbal's comments, I mean, this is a schedule, may not be reflective of what the projects are actually coming in, what their size is, but in terms of, you know, whether it's a large or small installation at home, the same components of a application, checking for the components and structural, and then the inspection.
I don't have a system at my house, so I have no idea what a typical solar system kilowatt system is. So does anybody have any information on that?
Well-
Mr. Tepe, what's your house? 100 kilowatts? I mean, use a lot
No,
of
it's
power.
not- I don't have that big a roof, but my system is about 8 kilowatts.
8?
Yeah.
I think that's what mine is too. 8.
And it covers the front half of my roof. So I've got 20 some odd panels.
Do you have batteries?
No.
Chris, do
And-
you have batteries?
No.
And it is truly passive. You do not know what is happening. There's nothing to do. They've been up on my roof now for 7 years. And the only reason they've been touched was I got a new roof and they had to take the panels off and put them back on.
Mr. Caius?
Like that 5.4 kilowatts, bottom of the page. Mine is small, 3-bedroom house.
Mr. Roth?
Mr. I think we're getting in the weeds here.
We are.
The development knows what they're doing, and that's their job. It's not our job to double check the details.
So we have a motion pending. My suggestion, Dr. Iqbal, is not to amend it further, but to work with the state's attorney's office to address your concerns so that what they submit reflects your proposed changes. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, but this is a policy issue, is not a statutory, it's not a legal issue.
Well,
I'm asking that it should be raised from 10 to 20.
but what's before us is not that issue. What's before us is the commercial facilities. So
No, this is a residential one, the very first one.
that's what is existing. What I'm saying is we are adding a fee schedule for commercial facilities. What is your suggestion on the residential?
This is what I'm asking about residential, that it should be instead of 250, it should be either 125 or raise the limit from 10 kilowatt to 20 kilowatt.
Okay, why don't you make that motion and we'll see if you have support for that.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't amend your so now you can amend your motion to what you just said.
Yeah, my motion is amended to modify the range from 10 to the kilowatt, 0 to 10 kilowatt under section 1A to 0 to 20 kilowatt. And then of course, the B would be, 1B would be over 20 kilowatt.
And are you further proposing to change the fee for those?
No, if you want to keep the fee,
Okay.
but change the limit.
Do we have a second? Okay, the motion fails for lack of a second. We're ready to call the question.
Arroyo? Garcia?
Garcia, yes.
Linder?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, no.
Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Williams?
William Jess. While we're still in our new business, I just want to talk about what happened at County Board a couple weeks ago. We had consensus from the board to amend our zoning ordinance to reflect the changes in the state statute on zoning, solar and power storage facilities, to make those a permitted use in the farm and industrial district. but also to impose certain further restrictions as it relates to landscaping and to the extent that we can regulate these facilities. So I'm asking staff at our next meeting in March to have a proposal for us, because we really need to get that in by June 1st, don't we?
Actually, we need to have those adapted 120 days after June 1st.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time. But, Madam Chair?
I've not had the opportunity to do the research on it yet, and perhaps staff could help us out. There are two trailer bills that have been addressed because of the concern of the zoning regulations. The COGs are very upset about it. They think that their total local control has been removed from them. So if we can follow up and see where those bills are and to get a better understanding of them. Nothing is going to happen until after the primary, from what I've been told. But in the meanwhile, the bill numbers are available, but I've just not had the opportunity to dig in to find out where they are.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll follow that. If it's okay with the committee, I think because we have the 120 days after June 1st, we'd like to give ample time for staff and the state's attorney's office to really come up with amendments to our zoning ordinance that would be applicable to our building permit process review, so that it's as tight as possible.
That's fine with me. I was under the impression it had to be done by June 1st. So obviously that was mistaken. Does anybody else have any objection to that? Anybody else have anything to add to that? Okay. So I think we have consensus here. I'd move as for someone to move for unanimous consent to place the reports on file.
So moved.
Requested by Dr. Iqbal. Any objection? Seeing none, the reports are placed on file. There's no need for an executive session. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Linda moves adjournment.
Linder moves,
Second.
seconded by Arroyo. All in favor?